How's everyone doing? Good evening. This is Jeff from Charting Horse Value, Sara Elbadwi from Horse Race Nation at Outrun the Odds. And we're going to talk about this Belmont card, which is sneaky good, very good. And I'm really happy to have Sara on. She's an expert in New York racing and a great handicapper. I think she'll help us out a lot. Welcome, Sara.
Thanks for having me back on. Always a pleasure to record with you. And let's hope so. I mean, Belmont has been probably where I do the best, I would say, so far as a handicapper. Last year, definitely the best meet that I had was there. And one of the horses that's on this card that we're going to go through is a horse that probably my biggest score last year was a win bet on her. So I'm excited that she's on this card. We get to talk about her. She's a huge price later on, but getting into everything that just happened, have you recovered from the Derby shock yet? Because I haven't.
Yeah, I'm fully recovered. I was mostly even going into the Derby, lost maybe $100 on the Derby, had Epicenter, and then I had a big trifecta, which would not have come in because I didn't have simplification. So I was destined to lose anyway. Yeah, I mean, it was a blistering hot pace. And, in my video I put out, I told people the way the Derby goes is simple. If it's a slow pace early or moderate, one of the first 6 horses early will win. It happens every year. Mm-hmm. Unless it's blistering fast, then a closer wins. What never happens is those mid-pack horses winning. Either they get cooked by that fast pace as well, or they get banged around and have a rough trip. So I was a little worried Epicenter dropped back so far, but it looked like he was home free. Zandon ran a great race, but ultimately Rich Strike benefited from a very fast pace, and it happens.
Absolutely. A lot of winning moves made by Sonny Leon in that race as well. The pace, obviously, the contributing factor to his win, of course. Once you saw 21 and 45, you knew that we were going to see chaos ensue after that. And like you said, Epicenter ran a winning race, sitting close enough to that pace and then still kicking away like he did, putting away Zandon. And then I don't think either of them really saw Rich Strike coming up the rail. Neither did the betting public. So crazy to be there for that.
Even did Larry Comas.
Right. Right. What did he say? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then, the way they constructed the 21, it looked like a 2. Okay. Now,
you're right.
It was clearly the 21, the Red Silks, but everyone thought the 2 was coming on, which that would have, I don't know, that might have even been a bigger upset if Happy Jack had won. So, but the California horses were awful. None of them cracked the top 10, I don't think. And maybe Taba took 10th, maybe. I'm going by memory. And then, Turfway had 3 horses in the top 9. No one saw that coming.
Not even Ed with Tiz the Bomb.
Well, yeah, I used Tiz the Bomb. He was one of my key horses. And he didn't run horrible, but he probably needs to go back to the grass. And then Simplification, tell me how you come up with that horse. But only way as a closer. He was deep in the race, and he came on late. Got a pretty good trip actually, and because there's no way you could take Simplification over Charge It or White Barrio.
Right. I think a lot of people thought that the plan was going to be to put him back, and so that's why they used him, and then that ended up being the plan. But if you thought he was going to sit closer, he didn't figure to be better than who he had faced before. But like you said, the pace, and he got the trip to show up.
He was far back. I thought he would be more mid-pack, and he took back and made a good run. But I think he's running in the Preakness as well.
He is.
I don't like his chances at all.
I don't either.
So it'll be a good Preakness. No Rich Strike. Big news today. They're not going to run the Derby horse. First time this has happened since Spend a Buck in 1986. And he had some sort of $3 million jersey bonus. And then Grindstone got hurt. And he never raced again. So, I mean, I think it's just my personal opinion is an anomaly. Okay. I think the Derby winners will continue to run in the Preakness going forward. And I hope they just don't mess with it. It's a 5-week It's fun. The Preakness is not that hard for the Derby winner. Once you get to that Derby, you're not facing as good of horses in the Preakness, and it sets up that great Belmont, where he's got to beat the rested horses. I mean, I think it's perfect the way it is, but who am I? So,
well, it's the test that it is because of the spacing and because of the different distances and the 3 different tracks. And that's why it is so hard to win the Triple Crown. And that's a conversation we've had before.
yeah.
After the 37-year wait that American Pharoah broke, they were having that conversation of like, is it just impossible for these horses nowadays to win off of such short rest, or should it be restricted to horses that they have to run in all 3 and they can't be facing fresh horses? We've talked about this before. They're not going to change it.
I hope not. And I mean, Real Quiet almost did it. Silver Charm almost did it. Sunday Silence or Easy Go, or either one of them could have done it. And then you had these years like a Fleet Alex, Point Given. I mean, those courses could have done it, but they just didn't win the Derby. They were more than good enough to win all 3 races.
Right.
So, it's definitely doable. And the connections are probably smart. Maybe they're trying to make a deal to sell the horse or whatnot. I don't know. But, they need to cash in now. Their $30,000 claimer is never going to be worth as much as it is right now.
I agree with you on that. This is the time to solidify that stud deal or make a sale or capitalize on what you've got right now, because the likelihood that he sees a pace like that again, very slim.
Very slim. And he could be a $10,000 stud. And for no one will know if he's a good stud or not for 2-3 years. He'll cover, 600 mares.
Right.
I mean,
life for Rich Strike, right?
Right. So we're gonna get to the Belmont now. Now, one of the things I love about Sara's handicapping is that she will go too deep and won't use a horse less than 10-1. I've seen you do it a lot, and that's a humongous compliment to you. You got a lot of confidence for handicapping. I'm looking forward to going through this with you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm not afraid to take my stands, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they definitely do not. But yeah. I know a lot of people say, oh, you should pick the same amount of horses per race. But if I don't think another horse is going to win, or I'm not going to use them at all, I'm not going to throw them up there just because. I'm going to throw up there who I think has a shot to win the race. And then either I'm right or I'm wrong, and that's that. I'm not going to just keep adding because I can.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a pick 5. It's, people think it's like Survivor game or something. They're going to make these ridiculous. You got to pick 5 decisions right in a row. I mean, you couldn't flip 5 coins right in a row, probably. So it's difficult. And you got to be careful not to waste money. You got to leverage your opinions and move on. I personally think of those as more entertainment. I've hit many of them, but I'd rather just hit those win bets, hit those doubles, and I can be much more, strategic.
Right.
Anyway, for those that are new to my site, I do have my charts up for free for Belmont on Saturday, and I'm not going to pull them up during our conversation today. But if you want to follow along, you can, or you can look at them later. They are there, and I will be basing my opinions heavily off those charts. I did obviously read the past performances as well. I know Sarah's got a great eye for that. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get into race 1. I'll read the conditions off. New York Reds. By the way, a lot of New York Reds in this card. New York Reds, man, it seemed like they got a good program going. Maiden 75 and 6 furlongs. This is for 3-year-olds and up. So what do you think?
Well, I think the conversation probably starts with number 6, Devil Boy. This is a horse that is making his 4-year-old debut. He only raced 2 times as a 3-year-old. He's 5-2 on the morning line. But really, if you just look at those 2 3-year-old races, all he has to do is run back to those figures. In his first time out, he lost on debut to River Dog. River Dog has turned out to be a pretty decent horse. He is a 4-time winner. He just won the other day again as well. Then he lost on a sloppy track the time after that to Big Bobby. Big Bobby was in the River Dog race and finished second in there, but he had some trouble at the gate. Then he takes some time off. He's been working really well. Jeremiah Englehart doesn't exactly have dazzling numbers off of long layoffs, but it's a small sample size of only 18, and he is 11%. So this is one that I'm not going to leave off returning as a 4-year-old in here, just because there might not be the strongest group of horses in here. The first time starter, number 9 on the outside, Fortune's Nephew, luring Irad Ortiz Jr. to ride for Bruce Levine. He's 4-1 on the morning line. This is another horse that has been working pretty well. Bruce Levine, 18% with first-time starters. Irad Ortiz Jr. obviously needs no introduction. He can kind of decide who he wants to ride and where. So if he's getting on this horse does probably have a shot. And then number 3, Eminency. At a short price, this guy has had a lot of chances. He has 3 seconds in a row now. And I'm just going to look elsewhere and probably just use the 6 and 9 at a short price with him.
Yep. I agree with your analysis. I don't know if I'm playing this early pick 5. I don't like this race really at all. Very difficult. Your knocks on Eminency makes sense. They are putting the bug boy back on. They are cutting back to 6 furlongs. That might help the 3 quite a bit. My top pick, I would say, and second in my chart, actually, and of course, I don't have a ton of information to go on, but that's Fortune's Nephew. Ranked second in my chart, just based on the placeholder information that I use. I think the workouts look really good. I mean, this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight 5 furlong workouts, and a couple out of the gate look real nice. I think this is the horse to bet on. And then I think I'm going to play against Devil Boy. If I was playing a double or something, I wouldn't use that horse. But just because of the 11-month layoff. But I think New York Anthem is kind of interesting. New York bred, but raced down to Pennsylvania, and now second lifetime start. That's a great angle, second lifetime. And this horse's effort wasn't that bad. Could improve dramatically. I would be, I got it that way. I got it basically 9-3-5.
I like it. And Kendrick Carmouche will put his horses in a good position. He's a jockey that doesn't hold back or take anything away from them. So any horse that's just going out for the second time, you can always make a case that they're going to do better.
Yeah. And I agree with your knocks on the Eminency, by the way. 4 seconds, been at the level, keeps losing. But cut him finally back to 6 furlongs where he's never been, it could help.
Right.
All right, race 2, I'll read the conditions. 6 furlongs on the turf. Non-winners of 3 lifetime claiming. And bunch of main track onlys in here. I guess I'll go first this time. So there's basically 2 speed horses in the race. And the 4 is main track only. So that leaves Stan Hope as lone speed. And so I don't like Stan Hope a lot, okay? There's plenty of warts there. But this might be finally, his time to get his 3rd win with a pretty soft lead. I think the rail draw is a good place for him. And, so that's my top pick. I like Ring of Fire, but I'm not a big fan of that layoff. That was a pretty bad effort before the layoff. And then Stand Up. Stand Up is an interesting one coming off a 2-year layoff. Had 1 race back. This is the 2nd race. I love horses second off the layoff. And this horse fits from a class standpoint. But, that's a bad, long layoff. And that was not a very good effort in the comeback. Although it was on dirt. That was a dirt comeback. Horse is much better on the turf. So I guess I play it. Looking at the numbers here, Stan Hope, whatever Stan Hope's number is, I go 1-7-2. Kind of chalky, unfortunately. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, those are the 3. I will say about Stan Hope, if he's going to win, he better win here because this guy, I mean, how can you trust Stan Hope? And another small knock on him, even though I fully agree that he should be lone speed and he should just wire this field, especially with apprentice Jose Gomez aboard. Bonnie Lucas filling in for Wayne Potts. She's 0-11 on the turf.
Okay.
So obviously not a big sample size, but the fact that she's kind of taken over the stable, everybody else is running pretty much the same as they would have for him on the dirt. They're not running like that on the turf, not as strong with that number. And I mean, This should be his race, but for a small shot against, yeah, I like Ring of Fire too. I get what you're saying about that layoff, but I wonder if the reason for the layoff was because of something that happened in that really bad effort.
Of course.
So it's possible that there was something amiss. They gave this horse some time off, and he comes back with a bigger effort in here. He was second to Turn of Events at a huge price, like 41-1 after breaking his maiden. So he's shown that he can show up. Robert Atras is 26%, 61 to 180-day layoff, so he knows how to get them ready off the bench. And then the stand-up, I mean, yes, multiple year layoff, you have to be concerned, but like you said, now gets back to clearly the preferred surface. Flavien Prat joining this very competitive jockey colony. I'm excited. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people thought that he could just ride in California. He has proved them wrong completely. He had a similar win percentage to riders that had more mounts than he did at Keeneland, and now is full-time at Belmont Park. And I think he's going to give some of these top riders a bit of a run for their money and start making connections with some of the lower level stables. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, this is the meat right now. Belmont, this is where all the top jockeys go. And I'm excited to see him here. Boy, I mean, they're just abandoning California. Just not enough horses.
Well, there's no one to ride. So
yeah, there's no one to ride. And then I look at these New York breds and I'm like, why can't they have a good Calbred program? But the Calbred program has just completely deteriorated. So, all right. Anyway, it seems like we're pretty aligned. By the way, we're going to get this video out. I will send some tweet out. Maybe Sarah, you could do the same, and just kind of like, revising our selections, making them official. But we're just kind of going through the card today. All right, race 3, our first stakes, the Vagrancy. Nice little field, small, 6.5 furlongs, interesting distance. The Vagrancy for fillies and mares, 4 and up, I guess. Sorry, 4 and up. I'll let you take the honors.
Well, I wonder if this is such a short field because everybody's feeling kind of scared of Bella Sophia. Comes back after the Breeders' Cup Sprint effort. Didn't really fire that day, but that was against Gamine and CC, and there's no Gamine or CC in here. Plus, she had to ship all the way to California, and sometimes that takes it out of a horse, one that has only been based on the East Coast as well. She makes a ton of sense in here. She is going to have to show up off the layoff. I will take one small shot against her because if you're going to, I feel like this is the time to do it. And that's going to be with number 4, Miss Brazil.
Okay.
And Miss Brazil, she's 3-1 on the morning line, and she has the recency edge. And she did win last time out versus Allowance Company, going 6 furlongs at Aqueduct in April. So that was her first start since June of 2021. The rail was good that day, and she got a good trip, but she showed up and she ran a 90 buyer, which is decent enough as a starting point for her 4-year-old year. She gets Eric Kinsell back aboard. He's ridden her for most of her career starts. He's won on her before. And when she was behind Bella Sophia in Australasia in the Jersey Girl, she broke through the gate that day, then had to reload, and she was off a little bit slow in here. I wonder if Eric is really, really aggressive and tries to put her a decent amount in front of Bella Sophia. I know Bella Sophia is going to go and probably breathe right down her neck the whole way around. But with that little bit of recency edge and the fact that she could be in front of her early, if Bella Sophia needs one off the layoff, this is the spot where I think you can take a shot against her because you're really not going to be able to going forward if she shows up in here. And then number 2, Frank's Rockette. I feel like she's just kind of tailed off a little bit lately, and she hasn't won in a little while. So she's the other logical, but with the 2 outside of her, I think I would just stick to Miss Brazil, Bella Sophia as my win candidates in here.
Yeah, I think, if you use Bella Sophia, like if you're playing serial wagers, first of all, it's very hard to bet this horse. I don't know what the odds are, but isn't she 3-5 or 4-5? It's hard to bet a horse like that to win. So then you want to maybe, if you really think Bella Sophia is going to win, you want to try to set up a exotic of some sort, maybe a serial wager, and then just single her. Okay. You can't, this is just my money management advice. My opinion, you either use Bella Sophia as a single or you don't use her at all. That's a judgment call you got to make. I think she's a very likely winner. My take on Miss Brazil is that if she runs hard, like you said, then they both lose. And then it sets up, I think, for Frank's Rockette, second off the layoff. Frank's Rockette's 5. Okay. So, Frank's Rockette really could be setting up for a good year where she's at her absolute best. That was a solid effort coming back. Granted, she was 1-2 that day, but she ran well and she couldn't move forward off that. And if they go really fast, she may just pass them at the end. I agree. She's not winning a lot. She's running in tough places though. She's not taking easy spots. But if I had to pick one horse to go against, I'd probably take Frank's Rocket.
She definitely would get the setup, and then also hot jockey Flavien Prat gets aboard too. So
yeah,
not
I'm already taking Prat 3 times in the first 3 races. I might be in trouble.
Right.
All right, 4th race, 6 furlongs inner turf. I love they got 2 turf courses, and this is a starter allowance. Can they run for a claiming tag in here? No, it doesn't look like it. So just starter allowance. So this is, I think, very similar to race 2, and there's a bunch of main track onlys, and there's only 2 speed horses, and I really feel like Missing Link gets the perfect setup here on the lead, and no one else to go with her. So this horse is on top of my chart, gets what's called a spot play designation. Those are very strong plays. Gets the A+ grade, ranks number 1. That's my pick. Other horses I liked a little bit was Stella Mars, Freedom of the Press. Is that it? The name cuts off. But I'm probably banking on Missing Link to go wire to wire.
Nice. I mean, looking at this at first glance, I was like, what a collection of horses I've wasted money on in the past. I was like, oh, I know you, and I know you, and I know you, and I know I wasted money on you before. So I think that you want a horse that's going to be forwardly placed, if not on the lead. And Missing Link, I think, is more trustworthy than Stanhope in this spot compared to the previous race that we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm a little interested in Miss Delicious. She's been very popular in the claim box. She shortens up for the first time, and this is a horse that has only been going long and has been running her races, but I'm interested to see what she can do at a shorter distance. Irad Ortiz is aboard. Rob Closeras, 15% off the claim, 15% routes to sprints, so moderate stats for her, but I'm a little curious to see what we get from her. This might be the one. I had her last time. She won last out, but this is much tougher. That was for Maiden 40. Freedom of the Press steps out one last time. Ferraro's 17% off the claim, but I don't love the way outside 12 draw, although there are going to be horses that are MTOs, so she'll be a little bit further in.
Yeah.
You Should Be Dancing. She clearly prefers the turf. She did win last time out, but that took 16 tries to break her maiden. So now facing winners for the first time, no thank you. And then it's like, where do you really go in here? So you want a horse that's going to be up close, and that looks like Missing Link.
The 2 draw is so good as well for a horse like that. Just, gets into that turn, saves ground. Everyone's going to be chasing. Your Miss Delicious pick gets a B on my chart, ranks 3rd. I didn't mention that horse, but solid selection. Yeah, but I'm not going to get too cute in this race. This is an opinion I'm probably going to leverage pretty strongly. I would be looking at singling Missing Link and hope I get lucky.
Makes sense.
Race 5. This is a nice little race and tricky, actually. The Run Happy. If we don't have enough Run Happies, we got to Run Happy stakes now. Grade 3, 6 furlongs, 150 grand, 4 and up. Nice little sprint. What do you think?
Well, I think we're looking at lone speed on the inside with Chateau. But here's another horse that should be lone speed that I don't really trust.
Yep.
So drafted, put things together in the toboggan finally. I know there were kind of some expectations for this horse to finally put it all together and show up. And then drops from the grade 1 Carter. Obviously, Speaker's Corner won that race, so this is much easier company. Repo Rocks. This is a horse that you and I have talked about before, actually, and big effort last time. I don't know where that came from. That is probably the best race that this horse has ever run. Stumbled too at the gate, has had a lot of gate issues, but if we see a repeat performance of what we saw last time, I think that he's dangerous in here. Mr. Phil, I feel as though I would want him if he was going out for another barn. I kind of wonder if he's in here just to fill the race for Chateau for Atris because they're uncoupled and he is coming in off of 2 wins. But I wonder what the real intention is in here. This jockey, I don't think is actually in New York or going to be in that colony. So I kind of wonder what he's doing in here and if he might scratch out. Officiating, I would take a stand against. I think that he was kind of lucky to win that race, and then Answerin would need to step up. So it's a short field, but there's a lot of different ways you could go. I think I would probably go with Repo Rocks and hope that we see him show up big again and that he's in good form right now. But at least 3 of them wouldn't really surprise me.
Well, so it's interesting that I chart here. So Chateau's on top, gets a lone speed, gets a spot play designation, A+, but it's going to be favored. And then Red Rocks is second on the chart, gets the B grade, has the highest energy. But the concern, and I like, if I hadn't looked at the past performances, I'd be all over Red Rocks. But then I saw that effort that was on 28th of April. That's only like 14 days ago, 15 days. Yeah, 14 days, 2 weeks ago. So it's a little bit quick on the turnaround. I guess they think they got something special. Horse is heavily raced. Hasn't had a break since September. The horse is a beast. And that was just a very, very big effort. And now turning around in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on that. And then I'm concerned with your comment on officiating because I kind of liked him. Your concern is legit though, and I just felt he beat these horses. He beat Chateau, who was on the lead. He beat Repo Rocks. Now he's making it back up to New York. Why do you think he was lucky? I haven't watched the replay.
I mean, what has he done other than that? I think that, and also I think the morning line kind of speaks to David Aragona also thinking that he lucked out to win that race last time because he's 4-1. Chateau is 5-2. Drafted and Repo Rocks are both 3-1, and he's 4-1 in a 6-horse field. So,
okay.
I mean, if he had shown significant form before that, I think that he would be the favorite. I mean, if he's already beaten these horses, I mean, why wouldn't you take him again? But I'm always a little leery of Saffie Joseph Jr. outside of Florida too. And I know his stats aren't as bad as people say that they are, but they're not great. So I would look to the horses that are more, I don't know, I guess battle tested here in New York against each other. And I think he can win, but I would take a shot against.
Okay. So you like drafted? I mean, who are you thinking?
I mean, if Repo Rocks runs his last race, but you have valid concerns about that, I don't really trust Chateau. I guess drafted, dropping from the grade 1 Carter, but it's not like he gets a pace advantage, so I don't know yet. I haven't decided fully on this race. I'm not
sure. I mean, this is the toughest 6-horse field where one horse can scratch.
Right.
I mean, Chateau beat drafted pretty convincingly back in December. But Chateau, he tires a lot. So I don't know. I think he's going to get lone speed though, and he gets that rail draw. He could come out a little bit, which is nice. He can kind of, you'll see these jockeys do that all the time. They'll come out a little bit. They'll stay out a little middle of the track, force horses to come inside of them, and then they'll kind of come in front of him on the turn.
Yeah.
Put him in tight, make it hard. So I think he's got a very good position to be in. I guess I'd probably go Chateau, and then officiating, and then Repo Rocks, just concerned with the short layoff, but tough race.
Yeah. I mean, Chateau should win on paper, but he's tough to trust.
Very tough to trust. Very tough. All right, it's a hard card. Whoever hits pick 5, congratulations.
Right.
There's 3 pick 5s on this card. There's also a race 4 to race 8 pick 5. I think that one's guaranteed. I'm not sure what the money is, but that one's guaranteed. All right, race 6, allowance 92,000, non-winners one other than. Got to refresh my memory here. Okay, this is a hard race. Okay, but I ended up settling. There were 3 horses I looked at pretty hard. They all got kind of warts, but the one I kind of liked the most, seemed like had the least amount of warts, was Angel Palm. First of all, the horse was racing in Ireland, racing a couple pretty decent races. Got beat bad, but it's got a couple wins. And then came over at Keeneland for Brad. Didn't run well. That's a concern, obviously. Stretches out today to a mile, takes the blinkers off. It's Brad Cox. I think this horse can improve a lot. And, I don't know if I'm going to get that morning line, but 12-1 morning line looked really good to me. Gets the plus grade in my chart. And then the other 2 that I looked at, I did like that 10 Chironi quite a bit. Only 3 lifetime starts. The layoff obviously is a little bit of a concern, and the workouts don't look particularly good. This trainer, Joseph Brocklebank, is an absolute no-namer. No, I've never heard of him. And he gets Lascano up. A lot of warts there. And then the other horse I liked a little bit, again, another price, Angelinka. This is the German horse coming over Brad Cox, racing against very weak company in Europe. Was just a claiming horse in France, and comes off a win in Germany, a little $17,000 handicap, nothing special. But Brad's had the horse for a year, might need a race, but I think it's a race to take a price. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I went in a different direction than you did, though. I do see what you mean with Angelinka, the number 9, but she's a 5-time winner. But you're right, against who, And so then also coming over for the first time, a lot of people like to see horses making their U.S. debut get one race into them because things are different over here in the U.S. There's another one making their U.S. debut in number 5. I don't really know how to pronounce that name, Balakwa or something like that. First time turf as well for Graham Motion. You have laid the groundwork for Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt for Clarovich. But if this horse is 9-2 on the morning line, I mean, that's kind of a red flag for me as well. Although she did win routing on the synthetic last time out. The price that I'm going to take in here is the number 6, Naked on the Beach. That was a good effort last time out, beating Expand the Map. And I know Expand the Map was supposed to win both of her 2 races. And maybe it's just that Expand the Map has been completely overrated and everybody was wrong about her. And she's not the greatest horse that everybody thought she was going to be. But I mean, before that, it was Pizza Bianca. So maybe at 8-1, Naked on the Beach after that race last time out, I mean, that was a decent effort. And like you said, I think this is the race to take a price because it's pretty wide open. So I wouldn't want to chalk out with a horse that has some questions to answer. At least I know this one can handle the surface and can show up.
I looked hard at this horse. No knocks on your pick there. I just kind of, obviously first time against winners. So that was probably my only knock on the horse. Nice win, picks up Saez for this. I was so impressed by Saez over the weekend. That guy ran hard in his races.
Yeah.
He's a good jockey. So yeah, nothing wrong with that pick at all. All right, let's move on to the next one. Race 7, a 7 furlong, state bred, optional claiming, 45,000 or non-winners 2 other than. Another tricky race, but I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, I mean, nothing super, super clever in here. I did end up going with number 6, Mass Marauder. And this is a horse that's on the improve. And I know people are going to say, well, last time out, the wet track and moved up and bias and whatever, 20-1, and that's a fluke. But Key Point did just come back to win very, very easily today and was a horse that was recommended on our horses to single report. And that report's accurate 50% of the time. And that was the spot to single in that pick 6 if you played it today with the carryover. And this horse was hitting the board prior to that. So was running competitively, was showing up, getting seconds and thirds, getting checks. And even if you think that buyer last time out was inflated in a way, the ones before that are enough to be competitive here. There just wasn't too much that I loved outside of that horse. I mean, the 9-7 Lilies can win, cutting back slightly in distance. I used to be a huge fan of the number 4 Foolish Ghost. I loved that horse last year. That horse would always show up, but form is just absolutely going the wrong way with this one. So I have to pass and just think that one's not going in a positive direction anymore.
Yeah, I agree with your opinion of Foolish Ghost. The horse shows up on my chart at the top, but that's based on looking back at a previous race that if he ran back to.
He crushed this field, but that's not him anymore.
No, his PFDS odds is only 9-1. It's pretty weak in this field. I had a very hard time with this race. I'm definitely not going to chalk out on it. I don't like 7 Lilies that much. I like St. Selby the most. Let me pull that up. And plus I get Gemography 2 for 1. So that feels like a pretty good deal. But yeah, this horse, pretty solid, running at the level and a bunch of seconds first, decent price. So I was looking at that one, 8 wins, 49 starts. And then the other horse I liked a little bit, and maybe you can, help me out what you think, was Bronx Bomber. But the thing about Bronx Bomber is that dropped to 25 to get the win is a little concerning, but it's Linda Rice and gets Jose Ortiz up now. So basically back to the same level he was running at unsuccessfully. So he kind of drops down, gets a win. Now he's popping back up, but big, I think jockey improvement there. So I don't know, but my top pick is the 1A St. Selby.
Yeah, that horse makes a lot of sense. And Bronx Bomber, funny you mentioned, I actually have that horse written on my paper, and then I was starting to write, and then I was like, first off the claim, and then I looked who claimed, and I was like, oh, Linda Rice, and I was like, never mind. She's just been kind of cold lately, and I, like you said, had to drop in for the win, and now steps back up, and I just didn't want to take a shot with this one, but like you said, jockey change is a plus.
Yeah, it's not a race I like to risk a lot of money. I would, but I would probably go with that 1A. And by the way, Gemography is pretty good. Gemography's raced against many of the horses in here and has won quite a few times, or at least outfinished several in here. So you get a couple decent shots there.
Right.
All right. So moving on to race 8. This is the Man of War, best race on the card by far. 1 mile and 3/8, $700,000. You got a bunch of foreign horses coming in. What are you thinking?
So I love you, Beer. I actually did pick him in the Breeders' Cup turf. That saved my entire Breeders' Cup weekend after the mishap with Modern Games, because that was a whole catastrophe. And so my wagers on you, Beer, helped me survive the weekend. And that closing kick that he had in the turf, I mean, you just don't see a horse come from that far back and pass horses like they're standing still like he did. He had that win at Belmont beforehand, and I think a lot of people thought that figures-wise he wasn't really strong enough to repeat that kind of performance in the Breeders' Cup turf, and he really showed up strongly in there. He also isn't making his first start since then. He has raced twice overseas since then, so I like that he has this recency edge. This is the 3rd start of his form cycle. He has a win at Belmont Park as well. He can shorten up effectively too, which is the one thing that I had a question on and was looking for in his past performances. He has won at a mile. He's won at 7 furlongs, and now going the 1 mile and 3/8 instead of the 1.5 miles that he has been going. I think that he is able to handle it, and he's going to need a little bit of pace in front of him, but I think that he can close into a slower pace, which he's probably likely to get. And Gufo's fine, but I don't love this horse's chances against a horse like Yubir that has faced much tougher.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're picking the right horse. Yubir sits on top of my chart, gets the K+ grade, and Gufo's in second, and I give no other horse in the race a chance. It's a 2-horse race, and Yubir is probably just too good. Mm-hmm. I don't know who he raced in his last. The comment over there is a little bit ridden 2 furlongs out, hung. And then he took second, lost by a length of 3/4 in a race he was supposed to win. He was 1-4. So that's a little concerning. But now he comes back over here, gets to firm ground. Godolphin has been firing over here. So this is probably a very easy single. And he crushed Gufo in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Crushed him. I don't know. I can't even explain that effort from Gufo in the Breeders' Cup Turf. It was so bad.
Right.
Now, Gufo's last effort was visually very impressive.
Yes, I agree.
Of course, he beat nobody, but he blew by that field. I couldn't believe I got 1.3 to 1 on that horse. I thought that horse would be 3 to 5 that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe off that bad effort, people were discounting him. But he was very impressive. One of the more impressive races he won. Now, last year, he ran in this race. He lost by a nose to Channel Cat.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's going to be right there. He's going to give your beer all he can handle. But I think I agree with you. Your beer's going to win.
Right. I mean, maybe Gufo's just a better horse now at 5. I know he's been better since they put the blinkers on and then made some changes with him. But yeah, I think that Yubir is just too good. I will say for the price you want to finish the try, I would go to So High on the outside. I picked this horse last time. He's going to be a huge price in here. He showed up and made things a little bit scary at a huge price last time, and I wouldn't completely count him out to bomb in the try and make that worth your wagering in here. But yeah, I would single Yubir in any multis.
Sounds good. All right, race 9 is an interesting one. It's the Peter Pan. This has been a springboard for many, many Belmont winners. I think the last one was Tonalist, beat California Chrome. And it's a very unique race. It's got to be one of the only places they could run 9 furlongs around one turn. And you probably know Belmont better than me, but it's traditionally a pretty fast race when they run one turn 9 furlongs. So it's pretty fair. I don't know what's going to happen. There's quite a few horses in here who, at least based on their most recent race, granted they're very lightly raced, many of these, but they were on the lead. Okay, seems to me it might set up for a horse coming from out of it. And so the one that I was looking at, I don't love this horse, but the one I was looking at was Golden Glider. The horse only lost by 6 lengths to Zandon. It was 3 lengths back at Classic Causeway, and I mean, pretty solid efforts, So now he gets a 1 turn, and maybe they'll fall apart up front. If he doesn't do it, I mean, I'll admit he's never really shown any sort of turn of foot in any of these races. That's a little bit of a concern to me. Then I probably would go down to the 2-hole, grab Chad Brown's Clarovich horse, who's got 2 wins. A lot of these horses are just coming out of maiden victories. It's got 2 wins, both with Lasix on, by the way. It's got to take the Lasix off. Ran pretty darn impressively in his last race and picks up IRAD now. So that's where I would go if I win against Golden Glider. I don't know what you think. I'm not a fan of We the People. Horse got really overbet down there in the Arkansas Derby and showed nothing. It was 2 to 1 that day. Certainly can rebound back to maybe one of those other performances, but I'm going to probably take a pass on that one. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you completely on We the People. That was bad last time at a short price. He didn't run at all in there. And I think that the argument going in was he's lightly raced and he's improving and he could show up and run a big race again. But he can beat me after that. I'm good at any price really after that. He's not going to be 20 or 10 or whatever to 1. He's going to be in the single digits. And I just can't take a horse that took a step back last time when other horses are stepping forwards. I think that Set Sail from the Rail will go. He ships in from Santa Anita. Yep. He won at the mile last time out. He's got a pretty nice pedigree, but he's probably going to get pressed the whole way by electability, who's going to stalk him right to the outside. Like you said, Irad Ortiz Jr. gets on. It's Chad. It's Clarovich. He's undefeated on the dirt. He did debut on the turf, but then they switched him to the surface he clearly wants to be on. Yep. The long shot I would take in here is going to be Western River. This is a full brother to Creator who has had some success at Belmont Park. I think if you want the 3-year-old that's kind of putting things together a little bit later in the season, that might, if he runs, second or third here, maybe he puts in a big effort going forward in the Belmont Stakes. I think that if you want the late bloomer that might be the up and coming kind of horse and likely to maybe get a piece of this at a bigger price, that's the one that I would look to. But the 1 and the 2 makes sense, especially the 2. And I'm with you on tossing the 4.
Yeah. And I look really hard at Western River. In fact, I would, if I went 3 deep, I'd probably use him over the 1. I really like that maiden win. And, he ran turf as a 2-year-old, then he switched to the dirt. And he's run 2 nice maiden races. That last race is pretty impressive. And there, like I said, I think there's going to be plenty of pace to run at. So I think that's a very good long shot to be using. And then, like I said, Golden Glider is my top pick, and then Electability. So I go 5, 2, 6 is nice. how I'd look at it.
All right.
Race 10, the Bogey. This is mile 16th on the inner turf, grade 3. Pretty tough little race here. But I just kept coming back to Rugier. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Gets a K plus at the top of my chart. Looks like the best horse in the race. Obviously didn't run great in the Philly Mare Turf, but now this happens all the time. They come over from France, and then they end up in Chad Brown's barn. They become an American horse, and he does wonders with these horses. So I think he's very good. I think I'm against a little bit Lamista. I do like that last effort where she was only a nose back of Mean Mary. That was a long time ago, and a little concerned with how long a layoff that is. So kind of like a Rugier over that one. And then I looked at all these other ones. Runaway Rumor looked interesting. Our Flash Drive, but I settled as my third choice Plum Ali, who finished up the year with a win, and then really ran well first time back as a 4-year-old. I just feel like this horse may be improving, maybe ready for that big step in improvement, and that's why I ranked Plum Ali higher than Runaway Rumor. But I couldn't get away from Rugier.
I hear you, and with Chad Brown with 2 of them in here, that both of those horses are going to take a ton of money. He's got Flavian Pratt, he's got Irad Ortiz Jr. Both of those are in here to take all the play, and a lot of people will probably just use those 2 horses, and they can both win. But I think out of all the Chads that we see be heavily bet on the turf, these aren't the 2 likeliest winners you'll see in a turf race. And so I'm going to give my girl Runaway Rumor one more try. This is the horse that I had for her 3 wins last year at Belmont Park. She was like 11-1 in her debut, and then she was, I think, 4-1 next time out, and then she was like 13-1 in the Wild Applause. And this is a horse that she bucked a stat for Jorge Abreu, who was 0-4. I forget exactly how many it was, but a decent enough sample size. He was 0-4 from stretching out horses from a sprint to a route, and she was the first one to buck that stat for him in the Wild Applause. This is a horse that paid for one of my summer classes last year, so I'm going to give her one more try at 15-1. That effort in the Hillsborough last time out, that was bad. There's just maybe she needed one off the layoff, but that was a no-show performance at a shorter price in there. But I'm wondering, is this the kind of horse that really just loves Belmont too, with the wider sweeping turns and her sort of closing style? She's always shown up at least at Belmont Park. I mean, she almost beat Fluffy Socks in the Sands Point, and Fluffy Socks is a good turf horse. She was just second to Bleecker Street. Right. So if she needed one off the layoff, let's say she really loves Belmont Park, let's say the 2 Chads in here don't show up, at 15-1, the only other horse I'm going to put ahead of her likely is Plum Ali. And Plum Ali is a horse that has beaten her before, who showed some flashes of excitement and potential when she was younger, and then kind of tailed off, and then has really shown up again. Exactly what you said. She beat Technical Analysis for Chad Brown last time out, and she ran a good race in there. So if she's 6-1, Runaway Rumor's 15-1, that's the exact I'd wanna press in here.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I was debating between Plum Ali and Runaway Rumor. And if you look at the past performances at Belmont, Runaway Rumor beat her. And then they, went to Aqueduct, and then Plum Ali won. My only major knock with Runaway Rumor is the connections. They're 1 for 21 together. They just don't win. And I think Plum Ali had a really nice comeback race. So that's why I think the 6-1, I went for that. But it seems like we're on. So we see the race the same way. And I'm definitely not playing La Mista. No. I think Regier is the right. Just honestly, you can't lever off the 7th place effort. But that horse, in Chad Brown's farm, I'm sure he's good. Oh, look at that. $3.4 million they bought that horse for.
Yeah, and this isn't the Breeders' Cup, so.
Yeah. Exactly. This is a lot. This is a grade 3. This is a big. this horse is running in grade 1s and grade 2s. I think this might just be like a little confidence booster and get her year started off right. Probably going to win. So we're going to go to the last race now, race 11. And 7 furlongs on the turf. I think quite a few main track onlys in here, but they're all on the outside. I think it's 13 to 16. And New York Bred's non-winners one other than for 80 grand. This is a tough race. I hate having this race in the pick 5. It's tricky race.
I agree. I'm glad that there's a horse that I always throw some money to waste at in here, and that's going to be the number 3, Master of the Tunes. This is one of those horses that always seems to at least run at huge prices. I mean, she's shown up and either been 4th or at least kind of closed late at some pretty big prices. She's not a huge price in here. She's going to be 6-1 on the morning line. But I like that they're starting to stretch her out a little bit again as they bring her back this year. She's 5 years old. There's only one other 5-year-old in this field. They could retire her if they wanted to, but the fact that she keeps showing up and at least running a little bit says to me that they want to try to get some wins out of her. I did actually get a chance to talk to the trainer because he messaged me after I was supporting her and singing her praises last time. They're hopeful that with the jockey change to Jose Ortiz, that this is a move up for her and that she shows up again and continues to run well. So I'm looking to throw some money at that Runaway Rumor Master of the Tunes late double. And if that finally hits, then I can be done with singing their praises for a little bit of a while. But as far as outside of her, I like the 2, Active Congress. She won first out. She can definitely improve off of that effort. She's drawn inside, which is where you want to be on the turf course. And there's plenty of others outside of them that could win, but those are the main 2 that I would want to focus on.
Yeah, a really hard race. There was a couple I looked at. First of all, I do like your 2. Active Congress. I didn't look too hard at Master of the Tunes. I'm going to study that one a little closer. I think maybe I just got turned off by the 1 for 11, but
yeah, she doesn't win.
So, but the Active Congress stepping up out of the maidens for the first time and stretching out a little bit, 6 to 7 furlongs, and then 3-year-old going against older. It's asking a lot, in my opinion. But the horses I liked, and you make a good point about the post draw, but isn't this just a 1-turn race?
I think so, yeah.
It's pretty long. I mean, they go the whole backstretch. So
yeah,
I don't know how the races play, but I ended up on this 10, who's on top of my chart and gets the best grade and best ranking. And again, second off the layoff and won first time out. So, gets Gomez back on, gets a little weight break, and I think this horse is pretty solid at the level. By the way, has run at the level before. By the way, that starter allowance was open company. So, I don't even know if that is a weaker race than this. And then the other horse that I looked at, by the way, Sula, Michigan. That's not the correct name. That is a Seinfeld reference. I think we talked about this horse before, but that horse, it's I can't remember. It's a slightly different name, but that's the Seinfeld lady who walks around in her bra. I like Dufresne a little bit. Blinkers off here. Obviously, you could toss that last effort, and they thought enough of this horse to run in the matron.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 3-year-old, but they thought enough of this horse to put him in some tough spots. So I like the 7 a little bit, but I'm going to go with the 10.
Theodore Grace is one of those horses that I've actually bet a couple of times. I just worry that the figures might be a little bit low for here, but you want a horse that can at least win some races, and that she can do. So, and she's also the other 5-year-old in here, so she has that age edge on some of these younger fillies and mares as well. So, yeah, I mean, she makes sense. Dufresne, as you said, she was a pretty impressive 2-year-old. Like you said, they stepped up to Stakes Company. I was a little interested in 6 Finest Work, but that was mainly just a Flavian Pratt kind of angle getting on because he is so good on the turf and is really riding so well in New York. But I think you could go a lot of different directions in here.
Well, that Finest Work was right behind your Master of Tunes, so you could do the Master of Tunes, the Finest Work double as well.
There we go.
So, yeah. Anyway, tough card. I mean, really competitive races. The stakes races, some of the fields are a little short, but there's some quality in there, and I think it makes for a good day of wagering. Really appreciate you coming out, Sarah. Thank you for continuing to do this with me. And we have a comment here. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. So it says, I come in to say I love the channel and the content. Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Yeah, so really appreciate you coming on. We're going to drop off everybody, and we'll send some tweets out about our thoughts on the races on Saturday. Take care.